if you haven't checked out our channel before, what we like to do is because it's long form content, we like to start out our discussion of the episode with a little recap action. It's where we talk about what happened on the episode, and we try to keep it to about 15 minutes long. And then we take that recap and we splice it out and put it as its own separate video. So if you're checking out that video and you want to see our full discussion, or you want to share your own thoughts and theories about the episode, we'd love for you to click the link in the comments below and come let us know. So, Will, why don't you hit us with the name of the episode?
I got you. This was episode 40 of Campaign 3, Compulsions.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to say too. I'm just pulling my notes up real quick.
Everybody knew you were. I just wanted to say it.
All right, so episode 40 opens up with this continuation of this awesome cliffhanger from the previous episode, which, if you remember, Imogen was in her dream and she saw her mother, and the episode ended with her casting sending and reaching out to her mother, where she heard her mother's voice, Imogen, speaking back to her. So the episode opens up again, and they have this very vague, ambiguous dialogue where Imogen is basically like, are you okay? Like, where have you been? Like, can I see you? What's going on? And her mother, Liliana, is like, I'm really sorry for what you've had to go through, but I chose to leave because this is for the best. And it's best that you stay away from me and my destiny. You just need to run, which echoes the what we keep hearing in Imogen's dream of her mother's voice saying, Imogen, run. There's some dialogue with Marisha Ray's character, Ladna, and it's a bit of a disappointing conversation in the sense of, like, we don't know anything more about Imogen's mother other than that she is alive seemingly and is somewhere out there. So having said that, they decide to go up on the deck and kind of share what's happened in Imogen's dream. And they basically come up to the top of the deck to see the chaos of this battle that happened. It was like, what the heck happened around here? Chetney in his elastic underwear, now back to his normal form, where in the previous episode, the flare of Rudis had forced him into this kind of crazy kill you rage in his werewolf form. So there's kind of this back and forth where Imogen shares what happened in her dream, and meanwhile Chetney is also sharing about how it is Katha that grants him the gift that he has, and yet he's never had Ruidus cause him to have this itch that was uncontrollable before. I'm pretty sure, and William, you have to remind me, I'm pretty sure Fern does an insight check of some kind, but I don't remember the outcome of it. But there definitely was kind of like this, is this really the first time this has ever happened?
Yeah, I think, no, we don't know what deception or whatever was involved, but I think she didn't like learn anything from that insight check. Like, it was just like, yeah, that seems true to you type of thing.
Yeah. They also chat. There's some questions I think Chetney asks, does your mom know you have powers? They're kind of also putting together, okay, Imogen's having this thing with her mom. Chetney had this thing happen with Ruidus. We know Fern is Ruidus born. Who's next? Who's the next person to have like this weird Ruidus interaction? And there's even a joke of like, well, Orm has the moon tattoo. Maybe it'll be Orm. But they actually do decide to go wake up Ashton and FCG to kind of let them know what's happened. And there's actually a really cool interaction between Ashton and Orm, where as things are kind of dying down and relaxing, Ashton's like, hey, Orm, are you good? Like, you okay? And it's just kind of this really sweet friendship moment of everyone kind of thinks, or at least I do, Orm is kind of like the team's dad. Like, he's like the most wholesome character.
Yeah.
And Ashton's kind of basically like, hey, just know, like, you don't have to like keep it all together. You can ask for help if you need to. So we kind of have a nice little, moment. And then the night ends. From there, they have a couple more days of travel. They actually pass by Bosseros again, and they can see the Death Wish run up in their skyship. And then the next morning, it's FCG's turn to roll. in terms of what happens for the day.
Yeah.
And FGG's character says a prayer to the Changebringer for like, let me see a sign, and rolls the dice. I think it was a 3, and hears this rustling. He sticks his head out the window and sees this. I think Matt describes it as like a dog bird creature, and it is a cockatrice. In fact, there's like a dozen of them, and combat ensues. They all rush onto the deck. They begin fighting these cockatrices, and one of them actually like pecks or bites FCG. And Matt describes him like turning to rust and becoming immobile. And there is a special characteristic of these cockatrices where if you fail your, I don't know if it's a wisdom or a constitution saving throw, you actually become petrified and turn to stone. So that's happening to him. Combat ensues. It's pretty, fun and chaotic. I think Ashton like literally one shots one of them. There is a moment in this combat where, like, as they're fighting, Laudna does her form of dread. And we talked about this in a previous episode, how it seemed like she might have a new patron, and that seems confirmed. She does a form of dread, and it was something like these bramble roots or like wood, like rotting wood coming out of like her body.
Yeah.
Very Sun Tree-esque, but very cool. Chetney summons Turmoil with the keyword done and is surprised with how lightweight it is. And FCG also has a turn where he has his whole turn, and then either he or Matt reminds him that he was actually turning to stone, and he was like, all right, never mind, pass. What actually gets really cool, though, is they realize that these cockatrices aren't swarming the ship to attack. They're actually running from something. And there's this cool moment where this dragon's head claws up the side of the ship, followed by a goat head and a lion head. It's a chimera that has come onto the ship, and the bigger battle ensues. There's some really cool moments in this combat. Imogen, seemingly using the 400 gold ruby that she got last session, summons this psionic red wispy creature, this construct of some kind or aberration, and it attacks the chimera and also does psychic damage. I think also there's a moment where Chetney also suffers psychic damage from it. So that happens. Orem continues to be like freaking awesome with how he describes his like physical combat. Fern actually fails her check from being petrified, but then remembers that her Fey ancestry gives her advantage, and she shrugs it off. And I think we even got a section where Mr. loads the poop into his poop gun and fires it at the chimera. All that to say, eventually Fern makes her way over to one of the ballista that are on the ship, fires it out to the chimera, and I think hits it with like a natural 20. It's like an insane amount of damage, like 40 or 50 points of damage, and she gets the how do you want to do this. Chimera is killed. It falls off the side of the ship, and that's basically what happens. They ask Imogen about this aberration that she has, and she's like, I don't really know where it came from. I don't really know how I summoned it, but all that to say, they decide to continue to travel until finally they reach the gloomed jungles below of the Ashenador, and that is where we take our break. So
Yeah,
on to you, Earl.
For the second half, we pick back up, and it's the next day of travel, and Laudna is the one who's rolling for today, and I don't remember exactly what she rolls. I want to say a 3. But Matt describes this storm rolling up on the ship, and Xanda says, we need to wait this out. So we're going to lose a half day's travel. But, enjoy. We're going to be chilling. So the party and Chetney basically start discussing the Gorgini and if, could these people be potentially allies, or, what can Chetney, learn from them? And he says that the Gorgini don't have to accept him, and that in the last group he was with, there was a definite pecking order, and he sort of got kicked out. When they're discussing all of this, he retells the story of how he was first bitten by a werewolf in the Savalier Wood, and he says, I was just surviving off the land, hunting, trapping, and there's some more insight checks that happen here, and as far as anyone can tell, he is once again telling the truth. a werewolf seemingly got trapped in one of his traps that he had laid out, and he didn't realize, and it bit him in the ensuing combat, killed the werewolf, and then this group that was hunting the werewolf come by and decide to give him a chance to, get his new
Right.
gift under control. But they were like, we will come and take care of things if you can't. Basically letting him know that he isn't free to go around biting people and everything. So Chetney is like, yeah, so basically I just have to submit to whoever can teach me, and hopefully somebody can teach me here. The party then looks around where they are stationed currently as they're waiting out this storm, and they notice there's like this kind of abandoned in rubble tower, some sort of base that has been left to get overgrown by the jungle. And they're like, well, if we're sitting here anyway, how about we just go check this out? So they throw over the ladder, go down, and make their way into this abandoned tower. It's still a few hours from dusk, which the way they contact the Gorgini is to howl at dusk. So they decide to just kind of sit and chill and wait for dusk. Once it hits, Chetney transforms into a werewolf and lets out a howl. And there's about an hour that takes place here. And about, I think, halfway through, really it's not important, Chetney says, hey, everybody else, like, howl with me so we can be, louder. And once that second party howl happens, they do hear howls back in return, but howls from like different locations. A little while passes, and they soon notice that something is approaching them. A cloaked humanoid type figure steps forward, and it's revealed that it's a were-tiger. And they're like, you're surrounded. Tell us why you called us before we end you, basically.
Right.
And Chet says that he seeks an audience with Diva Sheila, and this were-tiger says, you found her. Chetney says, hey, we were sent by Ajit from Jusar. I hail from Wildmount and was told that you guys could maybe help me with my condition. Diva Sheila then snaps, and more figures kind of emerge from the jungle around them. There is a were-panther, a were-boar, a were-bear, and more werewolf. Diva then asks Chetney to like prove it, like prove you're one of us. And so Chetney transforms, and he's like, oh yeah, the rest of them, they're not werewolves, it's just me. And Diva Sheila's like, okay, well, can you guys keep up in the jungle in this weather at night? And they're like, maybe. And so basically various members of Bell's Hells jump on various members of this were like, they're not all wolves, but the wares, right. I guess, jumps on their backs to travel through the jungle. Imogen lets Xandis know with a telepathic message like what's going on and to wait for them. But then this whole group heads out seemingly back to Diva Sheila's and the Gorgini's camp. And they're taking like a zigzaggy, darty path through the jungle to kind of hide the location a bit from Bell's Hells. They ultimately arrive, and they all drop their were forms. And we find out that the were-boar is a man named Uther, a human man in his 50s. The panther is Manad, a scrawny gray orc. One of the werewolves becomes like a green dragonborn. And finally, Diva Sheila turns into a human woman in her late 40s. She says, welcome to Barnock. And this area is basically just a collection of jungle tree houses with like rope ladders and rope bridges. There's gardens. And it's basically just this kind of hidden commune within the jungle. And Manad says, if you reveal this location to anybody, we will hunt you down and kill you. And Diva Sheila's like, yep. And by the way, my name is Annaline. Diva Sheila is just a password of trust that we use, and also a name that I once had. Chet introduces, the group as Bell's Hells and says, I'm here to learn. He also lets them know about his recent interactions with Ruidus and asks if that's something that they deal with as well. And Anna says that that's like a particular itch, but an itch all the same. And, it's grown in recent times with the flares and I want to call it the eclipse, but that's not the right word. The
solstice.
Solstice, thank you. With the solstice approaching, the itch is getting stronger, but it's something that, you can master. And she's like, I can tell you've actually have already had some experience with hemocraft. And she's like, but there's still much to learn over the coming weeks. And Chetney's like, well, don't really have
Yeah.
weeks. Is there a quick seminar you can give me?
Yeah.
And she's basically like, this is a lifelong discipline, and it's going to take a lot of time and focus to master. She does say that most people here aren't masters of hemocraft, though. They're just individuals looking for protection from society and a basic means of like living a somewhat normal life while keeping their condition at bay. Um, they find out a bit more about the Gorgini and that they used to be nomads, but the Court of the Lambent Path made this agreement with them so they could occasionally settle and take jobs. They also find out that they basically embrace the guidance of Sayadon, which is like this human beast, powerful spirit that guards the jungle. It's a protector of both predator and prey, with its goal being to just maintain that natural balance. And she is a champion of the Wild Mother. Bell's Hells then are introduced to this gnomish man named Tarad, and he basically feeds them and tells them a bit more about the community, how people come and go, and some have to be put down, because once somebody loses control, there's basically no coming back. He says there's been outbreaks in the past, and the Gorgini are basically dedicated to preventing that from happening again. And he's like, they use meditation, therapy. We also chain people to this tree if they're not strong enough to control themselves. And Annaline then jumps back in and is like, all right, I think we have something that could maybe help you that we'll try in the morning. We're going to go to the Temple of Sayadon, and if you're lucky, Sayadon will meet with you, and you will either be excised of this itch or you will be excised. He's like, you will be challenged and judged. And the rest of the party is welcome to go with you, but they may or may not be welcomed like into this challenge, as it were. It depends on Sayadon. And so the party's like, okay, well, sounds like a plan. And Annaline's like, we'll be heading out tomorrow, so just make camp here, but like don't get cold because the journey's going to be rough tomorrow. So the party then makes camp for the night, and that's essentially where the episode ends. Once again, episode 40 of Campaign 3, Compulsions.
All right. And if you're checking out just the recap, click the link to see our full discussion. And again, we want to know what you think about the episode. All right, Will, what'd you think of the episode, my friend?